Katja Berlinger trained as a lawyer but came to INSEAD in 2004 looking for a change of direction. She later joined a Swiss family office as an investment manager and is now a professional board member with numerous Swiss board mandates. Welcome to Alumni Experience, Katja. You trained as a lawyer and then came and did a whole lot more training at INSEAD to do an MBA. What was wrong with being a lawyer?
As a lawyer, I had a lot of fun and I really liked what I was doing, but it was always pointing into the past. So one of my first cases was the Swissair case. I was involved there and I was sitting there and analyzing the case. And all of a sudden I realized I'm not going to change the future while I'm analyzing what has gone wrong in the past. And that actually made me, was very crucial to take the decision to go to INSEAD.
You went to work as an investment manager in a family office after INSEAD. How did that lead to this kind of professional board work?
Basically, the patron of the family office was a lawyer himself, but very entrepreneurial. And we had a huge direct investments part of that portfolio. And so he entrusted me with many projects. And basically that was the whole start, because, you know, there you look at different targets, then you maybe buy a company, you've already made the due diligence and whatsoever, and then you start developing it. And then there you go into a board role while you're safeguarding the interests of a company. So that was actually the impetus for me to say, look, and actually this family office is still a very good client of mine, where I said, I don't think my path goes along with you. My path has to be a different one. I become an advisor, and if you have investments where you believe I could be a good fit, then just give me a call and I do the board mandate for you. I'd even do sometimes the CEO positions for them or whatever, wherever they believe I could be a fit, and it has a lot to do with people that entrust you. Now they are not my only customer anymore, but they were very crucial in the beginning, so I had something to start with. They basically let me keep some of the companies that I was taking care of them.
So this seems like an incredibly clever way to make a career transition. Did your MBA help?
It was tremendously important, because really my former boss, who was really entrusting me with non-legal issues in many aspects, I think he would have not done it without INSEAD. I don't know, maybe he would have, but he told me many times, I knew that I would lose you at one point in time because you're an entrepreneur and you would never stay here forever. So I was very thankful that I could have my first mandate. And of course, afterwards, when you do this, and I mean, I was very young to say I do professional board mandates, and today I also have to smile a bit about that because, yes, it kind of turned out well, but it was also hard work.
So your first mandate came via this family office, but you've now collected a lot more. How did the subsequent mandates, how did you get them?
Yeah, that was sometimes luck and sometimes very good networking, and it was always coming from people who kind of worked with me. So one of my biggest mandates now was recruited because they were the auditors of my first mandate, were the auditors of this new company, and they really looked for someone in Switzerland, and basically they recommended me. They just said, this is a very cool young woman. She said she wants to focus on board mandates. It actually is a very long lead time. The first meeting I had with them was basically when I founded my company, and they gave me the mandate, I think, 2 years afterwards, or 1.5. They were immediately convinced that they wanted to go with me, but it just took time.
Have all the other roles come via networking, or have you kind of tried different approaches?
I had been approached by headhunters sometimes, and I also have been in interviews and so forth, but that has so far never worked out. It was all coming from existing network. But I'm not the one who is going every evening to a networking cocktail. I think really, like, if you work with different companies, then you meet different people and they talk to each other again. And interestingly, the legal part is still a main acquisition route. Interestingly, I made one bigger transaction that was just in the area where I lived, kind of recognized, and since there I still have contacts from the legal side. And then I organize someone that takes care of the legal problem and maybe interact with the entrepreneur on other levels which are more interesting for me.
So you're clearly a successful board member. What do you bring to the boards that you work on?
I think it's my entrepreneurial spirit, and it's this willingness to create things. And I think as well, if I'm now in bigger boards, it's also the willingness to basically reinvent. In one board which is young, you invent, in the other ones you reinvent. And I think that's where also maybe women and also younger people should be also in bigger boards, because you have all these perfectly fitted, experienced people. But it's all about diversity, and I think this entrepreneurial spirit and this willingness to think the unthinkable is really that what makes me in the end successful in these boards, because I just do not accept things because they have always been done like this.
Finally, Katja, what would you recommend to someone who wanted to follow in your footsteps?
I think they should position themselves very clearly and figure out which position or which values they would bring to the table in a board. So it could way be that it's the marketing positioning role, or it can be a financial role or whatever, but make it kind of a clear profile. That doesn't mean that afterwards you're only doing this, but I think if you have a kind of a clear position, then it's easier for the other side to basically fit you in. So this is one aspect. The other aspect is, I think, that you should really be aware of your duties. I mean, obviously as a lawyer you know that a bit better because you're kind of, that's where you're coming from, but I realize a lot of people think, wow, a non-executive mandate just brings a lot of money and not a lot to do and a lot of reputation. And I always say, hey, there is another side, specifically in smaller companies where, I usually still work a lot for my money. It's not that I just have 4 meetings where I just sit there and drink champagne and then I get the huge paycheck. This is unfortunately not yet the case.